August 8, 2005, Fortaleza, Brazil. A bank vault stands eerily empty. 160 million reais, gone. No alarms, no forced entry, no violence, just absolute silence. As Brazil wakes up to its biggest robbery ever, authorities face a haunting question. How could anyone steal millions and vanish without a trace? August 8th, 2005, Monday morning, Fortaleza, Brazil. The city was just beginning to stir when employees at the Banco Central arrived for work. It was the start of a normal week, or so they thought. As they made their way down to the vault in the basement, they expected silence, security, and stacks of cash waiting to be counted and distributed. But what they found was something else entirely. The vault was open, the inside cold and silent, and in the center of the concrete floor, a hole, not a crack, not damage. A perfectly carved round tunnel hole, deep, precise, almost surgical, like something from a movie. The vault shelves were empty, the money gone. Not just some, all of it. Once they recovered from the shock, they did the only thing they could do. They called the police. When federal agents arrived, they were stunned. The vault was one of the most secure in Brazil. It had motion detectors, heat sensors, high-grade surveillance systems. And yet, not a single alarm had been triggered. The first estimate, over 160 million Brazilian reais missing, around 80 million US dollars. And here's what made it even more unreal. No broken locks. No signs of forced entry. No guards attacked. No weapons used. Just a hole. One of the agents, a thin man named Inácio Severa, volunteered to enter the tunnel. His colleagues hesitated. It could be dangerous. Could be traps. Could be someone still inside. But Inácio didn't wait. He dropped into the hole and began crawling. What he found inside the tunnel would shock everyone. The walls were reinforced with wood and steel beams. The ceiling had lighting installed. There were working fans, ventilation tubes, even power cables. This wasn't just a tunnel. It was a masterpiece. Inácio crawled through nearly 80 meters of narrow underground space. Every meter was carefully supported. No dirt slipping, no loose rocks. It was professional, methodical. After nearly an hour, the tunnel ended. He found a wooden ladder. Climbing up, gun in hand, heart pounding, Inácio slowly pushed open the hatch. He emerged into a house, an ordinary-looking house. It was empty, no signs of life, just silence. But the walls were covered in white powder, dust that had been deliberately spread to erase fingerprints. The rooms were filled with construction tools, trash, and discarded clothes. Every window was boarded up. It was clear. This house had been the launch site. And when he stepped outside, he realized it was only 70 meters from the Banco Central. The tunnel led directly from this house, beneath the street, under the bank, and into the vault. And here's where things got even stranger. This house wasn't abandoned. It had been legally rented, registered under a fake business, a landscaping company that claimed to install artificial grass. Everything was part of a cover story. Everything had been planned. And they hadn't just stolen the money, they'd erased every trace of how. Almost 3 months before the heist, a man, using fake documents, rented the house. He registered it under the name of a landscaping company, Grama Verde Paisagismo. Neighbors saw trucks arriving. They heard noises, drills, thuds. Everyone thought it was just yard work. But Inside that house, a team of over 20 men was digging. They worked in shifts, day and night, no weekends, no breaks. The tunnel was narrow, just wide enough to crawl through. But it was reinforced. Wooden planks, steel bars, concrete in just the right places. They installed lights. They ran power cables. They even built a full ventilation system. This wasn't improvised. It was planned like a military operation, an engineering masterpiece. And somehow, no one noticed. Then came the final weekend. It was a national holiday. The bank was closed. No employees, no guards. By late Saturday night, August 6th, 2005, they were ready. Around midnight, the first man crawled through the tunnel, into the vault. They broke through the floor, right in the center of the vault room, a blind spot, the only place with no sensors, no cameras, no alarms. Inside, they worked in silence. They used canvas bags and wheeled carts to load the cash, mostly in 50 real and 100 real bills. They sorted it, stacked it, and passed it hand to hand through the tunnel. Trip after trip, bag after bag. Over 5 tons of money moved in complete darkness, beneath the city. And by dawn on Monday, 160 million reais had vanished, gone, without a trace, without a sound. Now listen carefully, because what you're about to hear is how they pulled it off. On paper, the Central Bank of Brazil in Fortaleza was a fortress. Surveillance cameras, motion detectors, vibration alarms, thermal sensors, every system in place. But in one single night, none of them made a sound. No alarms, no flashing lights, no signs of intrusion. So how did it happen? The thieves didn't walk through the front door. They never went near the hallways, the stairwells, or any monitored passage. They stayed underground until the very end. They dug an 80-meter tunnel from that rented greenhouse beneath 2 full city blocks and came up directly into the bank vault. They broke through the floor at the one blind spot, the only place with no sensor, no camera, no alarm. Surveillance cameras, they never caught a thing, because the robbers never walked where cameras could see. Motion sensors? They're designed to detect anyone moving inside the vault. But this time, nothing was triggered. Investigators believe the system was either turned off for maintenance or it was shut down on purpose. Vibration sensors. Still, because the digging was deep, quiet, and surgical. The main alarm system? Silent. Why? Because someone on the inside helped them. Dusamar Neves Queiroz, a security employee at the bank. He gave them everything: camera locations, alarm schedules, sensor blind spots. They didn't guess. They knew. They entered. They moved. They stole. And no one noticed. Because that night, the entire security system was asleep, and all they left behind was a clean, perfect hole in the floor. Just 70 centimeters wide. No fingerprints, no footprints. Not a single camera saw them. This wasn't just a robbery. It was a ghost operation. And the tunnel? That was only the beginning. By the time the sun rose, the robbers were gone. No alarms, no suspects, no signs of forced entry. Just a clean hole in the vault floor, and 160 million reais missing. But outside, the neighborhood had started to whisper. Residents remembered dump trucks arriving late at night at the greenhouse. No logos, no company names. Just dusty trucks backing in quietly, headlights off. Workers moved fast, carrying heavy sacks filled with dirt. Some nights they even heard the rumble of machinery and muffled thuds. But everyone thought it was just landscaping. The police noticed it first. The ground behind the house was unusually soft, recently turned. They found fresh tire marks in the soil, not from cars, but from heavy-duty trucks. From there, the trail began. Investigators pulled traffic camera footage. They matched the truck to a warehouse in Fortaleza. Inside, they found sealed wooden crates, some full of dirt, others empty. But one word was stamped on every crate: Charles. A few days later, officers intercepted a car carrier truck. It was heading out of town. Underneath the chassis of several vehicles, they found it. Over 6 million reais. Wrapped in plastic. Taped to the frames. Hidden in silence. The man driving the truck? José Charles de Moraes. He wasn't just a driver. He was a coordinator. He used fake documents, forged delivery papers, and shell companies to move the stolen cash across the country, from Ceará to São Paulo and beyond. One arrest led to another. Police began rounding up suspects. The gang was larger than anyone imagined. Over 30 people were arrested. More than 150 were investigated. Millions were recovered, but most of the money had vanished. And then came the biggest revelation of all: Dusamar Naves Quiroz, a security technician, inside Banco Central. He didn't steal the money. He gave the robbers everything they needed: camera layouts, alarm schedules, sensor blind spots, even maintenance overrides. The heist had never been a guessing game. They knew. Authorities soon identified more names: the mastermind, known as Alemão, the tunnel engineer, Tatuzão, and the vault expert, Cabeçudo, all captured, but only years later. Some escaped, some disappeared, some were never found. Others weren't so lucky. One financier was kidnapped. Another was tortured and killed. The money had brought silence and blood. Police still chase ghosts. They recovered tens of millions, but most of the money still lost. It was the perfect crime, engineered from the inside out. The robbers may be gone, but the pursuit is never over. But the story didn't end at the vault. The first to fall was José Charles de Moraes, the man behind the wheel. Police tracked a white car carrier truck leaving Fortaleza just days after the heist. Hidden beneath the chassis of several cars, they found over 6 million reais, wrapped in plastic, taped to the frames. When they opened the cab's glove box, they found fake delivery documents, all signed by Charles. Under pressure, he refused to speak, but his silence told them everything. He wasn't just a driver. He was logistics, coordination. He knew the route, the schedule, the hiding spots. The arrest of Charles cracked the door open. Within a week, more arrests followed. Warehouse owners, truck drivers, fake ID forgers. Even a few men caught digging a second tunnel in another city. Each man gave up another. Soon, investigators had names. Alemão, the mastermind. A ghost with dozens of fake identities. Tatuzão, the tunnel engineer. Nicknamed Big Mole. Cabeçudo, the vault expert. A former construction worker with access to the vault's blueprints. Some were found hiding in rural safe houses. Others were caught boarding international flights. One suspect was picked up during a barbecue with friends, surrounded by new clothes and unexplained wealth. In total, over 30 men were arrested, but many had already vanished. One man was kidnapped by rival criminals, another tortured and killed. Some simply disappeared. The stolen money was dirty, and it didn't bring peace. It brought silence and blood. And then came the most important arrest: Dusamar Naves Quiroz, a trusted technician inside Banco Central. He had access to the control room, alarm systems, and camera logs. Investigators later discovered that in the weeks leading up to the heist, he had quietly placed several systems into maintenance mode. He reviewed floor plans. He flagged sensor blind spots. He even ran system tests at odd hours. It was quiet sabotage, done from the inside, by someone no one ever suspected. Eventually, investigators traced access logs back to him. When they searched his apartment, they found handwritten notes, detailed diagrams, and security override codes. He was arrested without resistance. In court, he claimed he'd been manipulated, that he didn't know how far it would go. But the jury didn't buy it. Dusimar was sentenced to more than 18 years in prison for aiding and abetting one of the biggest bank robberies in history. He never spoke publicly again, never gave interviews, never explained why. As for Charles, he was sentenced to over 15 years. His final words in court: "I was just the driver, but the evidence said otherwise. He knew too much, and he said too little." By 2013, almost 8 years after the heist, only a fraction of the money had been recovered. Police continued to chase whispers, tip-offs from informants, sightings across borders, rumors of money buried in underground bunkers. But most leads went cold. The hole in the vault floor was just the beginning. The real tunnel was the one that led through Brazil's underworld, from the bank to the streets. The money is still out there. The names still echo. And the question remains: who really got away? One case closed, another about to unfold. This is Crimson Dossier, where crimes don't vanish. They sink deeper. Like, comment, and subscribe. The investigation never ends.